On today's episode, I'll be sharing my 3 favorite ways to generate revenue from your podcast without running ads and affiliate links. Welcome to Podcasting Q&A, where you learn the best tips and strategies to launch, grow, and monetize your show. This week's question comes from Felice.
Hi, this is Felice from Action Pack Travel. I was wondering if there were any ways to make money from a podcast that's not advertising or affiliates. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Felice. Ads and affiliates are an easy way for most podcasters to generate some sort of revenue for their show. It's a low point of entry and requires a very minimal amount of work. But they're not all they're cracked up to be and can pose a unique set of challenges. For example, having ads on your show can run the risk of disrupting the listening experience for your audience, especially if you're running multiple ads in a single episode. And since no 2 affiliate agreements are alike, each company, vendor, or product has a different payout structure. So depending on what the payout model is and the size of your audience, it could take a long time before you make any substantial amount of money from affiliate links and marketing. Luckily, those are not the only 2 ways to monetize your podcast. The first way you can monetize your podcast without using ads is by selling merchandise. Creating and having merch to sell is a great way to not only make money from your podcast, but it helps with branding and advertising. I've created shirts, pins, and stickers for my podcast in the past, and I use easy online stores like Big Cartel to sell the products. If you have a website for your podcast, it might be advantageous for you to set up an online store directly on there or include a link to your store in your episode show notes. Selling merchandise for your podcast is an easy way for your listeners to support the show, and it offers them something tangible that makes them feel closer to you and your brand. Second, you can use a platform like Patreon to monetize your show. Patreon is a popular platform that allows creators to earn financial support from their patrons and listeners. It's a great way to encourage your listeners who might be interested in directly supporting your podcast growth by contributing a small monthly fee or even paying an annual membership. You can create tiers with specific dollar amounts that correspond with unique perks and rewards. For example, on my Patreon, the $1 tier gives a subscriber a shout out by name in an episode and the ability to vote for episode topics. And my $5 tier gives subscribers access to bonus episodes, private live streams, and early access to weekly episodes before the public. The goal of your Patreon is to provide your listeners with something of value in exchange for their ongoing financial support. Now keep in mind, it does require a decent amount of time and effort to run a successful Patreon, and it might increase your existing workload, especially if you're offering rewards like bonus content, so be mindful of burnout. The third strategy is to find long-term sponsors. Having sponsorships for your podcast, it doesn't always have to mean running ads. What I've personally done for the sponsors I've worked with is had them sponsor a specific or custom segment of my podcast. For example, they can either be a title sponsor who backs an existing portion of the show by name, such as, "This segment is the best new comics of the week, sponsored by Gotham City Limit Comic Shop." Or I offer to create a custom segment for them that seamlessly works within the brand of my show. It eliminates the need for a traditional, boring ad to be run. The latter of the 2 can be a bit more challenging to execute, and it does require some collaboration with your potential sponsor, but it offers you so much more flexibility and control for you to make something unique that makes sense for your podcast. It can also help you establish a much better relationship with your sponsor, because now you're having them become invested with the show outside of just a financial stake. So those are my 3 favorite ways to monetize your podcast without running ads or affiliates. But there's still a handful of other great options, especially if you're a Buzzsprout customer. There's a great feature built into your Buzzsprout dashboard that serves as an easy way to encourage your listeners to support your show. It's an appropriately titled feature called the Support Your Show link. And here's how you would set it up. Go to your dashboard, click the Monetization tab, and then click the Support Your Show link in the top ribbon. You'll be presented with a page that has a list of websites that will help you collect money for your podcast, like Patreon that I mentioned earlier. If you already have an account set up on these sites, or if you have a different site that you would want to point your listeners to, you can paste that link in the Support Show link as well. Once you hit save, your support link will show up in a few places, like your episode show notes. It'll also show up as an icon at the top of your Buzzsprout website and will be available on your unique episode page and player. If you're considering Patreon as a monetization strategy, you'll want to be aware of the pros and cons of creating and maintaining bonus content on that platform. Travis and I recently sat down to talk through everything you need to know about Patreon as a podcaster. So if you want to watch that next video, you can either click on the link in the video description below or this video here on my left. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep podcasting.